Hello, and welcome to another Horace review. Today we're looking at the slightly more enhanced version of Horace Boxing. This is a game I've created myself for the Amiga computer as a sequel to the Hungry Horace series. As you can see, it's a fairly simple fighter game, akin to the likes of IK+, which visually you can see some homage to. By homage I of course mean stolen graphics from. And of course Way of the Exploding Fist was another big influence on this, being created as it was by the same, or being coded I should say, on the Spectrum by William Tang, who created the Horace series of games. Now, as you might be able to see, we've got three characters running around here. In this version there is some artificial intelligence. The red and the green characters are being controlled by the computer, and blue is being controlled by myself. And you can see this version features a variety of moves and actions, in much the way of those old fighter games. It simply uses a eight directions and 8 directions plus fire technique, giving you a total of 16 moves, some of which are simply the likes of move left, move right, duck, jump, which aren't in this particular mode. This is the arena mode of Horace Boxing, where you simply fight to win each arena before moving on to the next screen. Obviously the jump and duck features are a bit less useful here, but nonetheless can be used to avoid the odd move here and there. But you've got a standard punch, which will take the most out of your opponent. You can see the health bars at the top, complete with the small yellow dashes represent a lives counter. You've got a high kick, that's the second highest hitting move. And lastly, you've got the flying kick, which, because of the simplicity of hitting the opponent, I decided to make that the weakest of the moves. You've got some rather nice, I think, two different ways of falling down depending on how you get hit. The knocking across the floor or the simple moving back. As we can see here, Horace has just won the first round, and we skip on to our second level, which is an homage to the Exploding Fist sequel Fist Plus, taking most of its graphics from the ZX Spectrum version, for obvious reasons. You can see Horace there with a little jump to avoid one move. The artificial intelligence, I should say, was not coded by myself, unlike the rest of the game. It was in fact coded by a gentleman known the name of SkateBlind, or as he likes to be known, or he used to like to be known. He's a hard man to get hold of these days. I will say it's a little bit lacking, but then again everything in the game is lacking. It's a very, very incomplete game. The whole game runs far, far too slowly. It's coded in a language called AMOS Basic, or AMOS Professional is actually the version that I used for the Amiga. But this version relies heavily on the use of bobs, which are software-driven sprites, and the bob functions of AMOS are not particularly fast, shall we say. I'm running this version on emulation, which at times, especially with development, I am loath to do, but for the sake of a good quality capture, I have done so. Which meant I didn't really spend a lot of time stabilising the speed. Even the code itself features an inbuilt frame skip, which is probably a terrible, terrible way of programming, but I had intended to go back and recode a large chunk of the drawing engine to rely more heavily on hardware, well, to rely entirely, I should say, on hardware sprites rather than software sprites, which would deliver a lot more speed. As it stands, I can only really get this game looking as smooth and playable as I like on my own enhanced real hardware Amiga. Um, Obviously, with emulation, you can put your settings very high and you can get it to run right, but there's unusual slowdowns that don't happen on the real hardware that are featured under emulation, so um, mostly to do with detecting the collisions between the bobs. Um, this level, I forget which game this is from. Um, it might be from the original International Karate. It might not. Certainly it's from one of the Commodore 64 versions, which is why you can see some of the graphics are rather blocky. Obviously, when I come to, or should I come to clean up and tidy the game, I'll enhance all of these graphics, make them all work within the resolution, clean them up, but try to leave the obvious references in to their original counterparts. I don't feel there's too much more I can go on about. I mean, there is another. There are two other Horace Boxing videos. Um, one shows the original demo, which is a lot simpler, and the other is to demonstrate the what I call the world mode. Used to be known as the adventure mode. Um, it's a different style of play. Um, Obviously, Horace handles in exactly the same manner, but it's given a few extra manners of doing, ways of doing things, or a way of interacting with his environment, which you'll see on the other video. But this one, I mean, there's a lot of things I'm very proud of in this. The graphics for the Horace sprites are quite nice. So I'm rather proud of the graphics up top and the copper bars, and at some stage, as I say, I will go back and I think tweak this game, try and make a full playable game out of it. It's, as it stands, it lacks a lot of the things I'd like it to have, but there are some hidden away in the programming. There's some rather nice things done, which I won't bore you with. I'll just briefly go over the use of the playlist system to pick and choose your arenas, and hopefully that would mean a nice simple interface for people to create their own backgrounds and their own arenas and areas to play on, and simply keep on adding and adding and adding to the game, which would be nice. I think we're about to see our what I've done here is I've let myself die, and we're about to try and see the rather stupid artificial intelligence, which are still fighting the blank spot where Blue Horace previously was. They're accidentally hitting each other. So one of them will emerge victorious, and the game shall be over. There we go. Green is running off to the end of the game, and we should be back to the menu. And there we have it, Horace Boxing, Arena Mode. Thank you for watching.